Hello everyone and welcome back to Flow and Create React App. This is part two. We did the setup before. That was part one. I'll include that in the description. And we're just gonna start right off with our code. So along with our flow, we have a setup. We're just gonna very quickly, before we do anything else, make a folder of components. And inside that components folder, we're going to create three files. So one of them being to-do list, and then a second one being to-do, and the last one being to-do input. So all of these three are just going to be our base application things. And just to start off, we're going to do app. This is going to be like hopefully 5 minutes so we can get in and out super quickly. So in order to set up app, we needed to include flow on top. That'll let flow know that we actually want it here. And if we see, we already have an error, and that error is too few type arguments. And we can see what it kind of wants right here. So if we kind of include that, we can go props. We can see that even though we have that, we're still getting error because none of these are defined, or neither of them are defined. So Flow uses types and interfaces, and as far as I know, types are the best way to go for the most part, especially if you're passing down data. So we're going to do type state because we do not need props because this is our highest order component, so we can just type in null. And that will be an object. Sorry, I got ahead of myself there. That'll be an object. And inside of that object, we want to have to-dos, and that's going to be an array. And inside of that array, we're going to have to-dos. So it's an array of to-dos. But it's like, whoa, what is a to-do? So we're going to have to make another type. And let's say we want an ID that's a number, and a title that's a string, and a description that's also a string. So all this type does is it says, hey, when we mention to do, this is exactly what you're going to get. You're going to get an ID, a title, and a description. Now there are optional parameters. If you had hotness, you know, that question mark kind of symbolizes, hey, this is optional, you don't need it here. This can be null or undefined or whatever. And hotness is a function. So that's just an optional parameter for to do. It doesn't need to be there, but we're going to have it in there anyway. So we've got that done. So we have a to do. This is what a to do is. We know the code now knows that that's what a to do is, and we're going to have an array of these to dos. Now, because we have state, or we're passing in this state type, we can then have state in and of itself started to start up. So we can have state. And we don't need to use this.state or constructor or anything like that. We can just use state. And you know, we know that state needs to be an array because or else it's going to throw a hissy fit like it is right now. So we need to-dos, and it needs to be an array. And in that array is objects, which we have to-dos. So what we can do is we can go, let's just say ID is 1, title is how to make, or sorry, create a to-do app. And then the description is with Flow and React. So there we go. We've got our to-do list done. But I think what we're going to do is we're going to put a counter in here as well. And that'll be a number. And what this will do is allow us to put an ID later in our to-do. So we'll be like, okay, we'll add it onto our to-do for later. And so this is kind of most of our higher order component done, besides our handle submit, which we're going to put in here. So our handle submit will be an arrow function because it'll bind lexically to this, and that's because we're going to be passing it down. That's kind of what we want. We want a to do. So this like, okay, we're going to name it to do, but it's going to be in the shape of a to do. So that's kind of what we want this here for. So that way the function knows what it's getting and we can make flow happy. So that way we already know exactly what we're getting into here and we can start doing all of that tasty, tasty stuff. But just for now, we're going to console.log handle submit, and then we're going to console our log our to do. So that way we can see what we're actually handling with our submit. And now we are going to create our to-do list component. So I'm going to just add flow. So on each file that you want flow in, you actually have to add flow. That's just how I have it set up. So we don't have to add, or it doesn't check, index.js and all that stuff. We don't want that to happen. I have a snippet to create React components. So there you go. If you want to catch up and make your component, you can go ahead and pause the video. I'm going to call this list. And if you want to pause the video now and catch up, do so. I'm going to continue in 3, 2, 1. Okay, so now we have component. And we're just going to give it props and state. And this will kind of be the thing in our second video, or our next video, sorry. And that way we can actually receive props and whatnot. And I can show you what it looks like when we, oh, here it is. Yeah, props and state are not resolved, so we're going to have to do that later. But in app, we need to import to-do list. To-do list. So there we go. We have our imported to-do list. And the flow is going to give us an error here in a second because there's really, or maybe it isn't. Oh, yeah. So now we are going to add the to-do list component into here. So what that's going to do is that's just going to add our to-do list into here, and it can't resolve the name of props or state. So here's where it becomes super interesting, and you have to pay attention to what you're kind of trying to go for. So I'm going to go to app, and I'm going to pass down this handle submit function as well as this.state.todos, which is this. I'm not going to pass down counter. So what you're going to do is, if you've used React before, this is pretty self-explanatory, but you're going to pass down to-do list, to-do list are equal to this.state.todos, and then a handle submit. I just had a brain fart. Handle submit equals this.handle submit, but you don't need to pass in anything because it's already bound lexically to this. So this is taken care of as long as you put in an arrow function. So now we kind of have our main app done. And the next video will take care of to-do list and I believe to-do, and final video will finish it all up with to-do input and putting everything into place. So I'll see you guys in the next video if you're going to carry on. If not, see you later.